accomplishments, and that feels a little weird too, right? But you need to do it in a sophisticated, classy way. Particularly if you don't have a lot of experience in real estate, you need to tie in past professional experiences to the real estate industry, right? And so that might be harder for you to do. Even if you hire a professional writer though, I still recommend having agents take a look at it and critique and help you revise it. I have a creative writing degree, and I did not write my own. I do not write my own team agents. I do help them to structure ideas, to work with a professional writer, and then I do revise with the professional writer, because what I'll find, and what you really don't want, is they'll use incorrect terminology, or accidentally, it will be way too buyer or seller centric. And again, I want to work with all types of clients: buyers, sellers, first-time buyers, investors, investment, income property buyers, flippers, whoever, right? I want to work with them all. And so I need to make sure that my bio appears to all of them. The other thing I'll often see is a bio will either be too harsh or too fluffy. And what do I mean by that? Well, I'm a super, super caring agent. I really care about my clients' goals, but I'm also a fucking shark, right? I'll achieve those goals, right? But I think that with a writer, they want to be very positive. And so when I express all of my care and concern, like my first draft I got back is very fluffy. Well, I'm also supposed to be a killer, right? Right?
Balance.
Yeah, like a Doberman, good dog, but I've got a bite, right? And I'm being really extreme here, like for purposes of humor, but there needs to be the balance there. You need to reference negotiation skills and achieving clients' goals, but while being conscientious and providing care to your client, right? So just make sure there's a good balance of that there. Third piece, if you have them, and maybe get creative if you don't, references, referrals. Yeah, clients like to see that. And as you progress in your career, those are very important. Your first handful of references are going to be massively important, all right? Because clients do call. Even if they don't call, having them, I think, makes you stand out a little bit. Not all agents provide them. And I have literally had references or referrals on a sheet that I give to a potential buyer or seller, and they know the people. You know, I have that business right away, right? That like cinches the deal. So I like to keep my list pretty robust. I like to keep it very diverse, right? I have my gay couples names on there. I have, names that are clearly Asian or Jewish or Persian, because I want to show people I work with everyone, right? I provide the same level of professionalism and service to everyone. So I try to keep a really diverse reference list if at all possible. So while you're building your career, if you're in the mentorship program, you should be, doing presentations with your mentor when at all possible. I would even delay appointments to do any kind of presentation with my mentor, because you can leverage their references and referrals, their past sales, things like that. But as far as you're concerned, you can get references from people in the office, someone like Josh, someone like myself, someone like Justin Jacobson. Obviously not your mentor if you're with them. That's not a good look. You can get references from clients you're currently working with also. I have one reference on my list where I never did a transaction with the client. The client's very, very picky, but I've diligently and carefully worked with them for years, and they've given me a ton of referral business, right? And I think it says something that I have such a strong reference from someone I've never actually closed a transaction with. The fact that I still service them. What else? Even in your past professional experiences, as long as you're careful about how you coach that person, I guess you could use a referral from someone that's worked with you in a past professional, though I'd use that as a very last resort if I absolutely had to. Okay. And don't come asking me for a reference, guys. If I have no idea who you are, I'm not giving you one. If I see you participating in class, and my true opinion is that you are dedicated and learning and invested, then I will give you one all day long. But if I have no idea who you are, I'm not just gonna write you a letter. It's not happening. Yeah, don't have your clients call me if I don't know your name. And I'm bad with names. So even if you're here every time on Zoom, I might not know. I'm doing screen shares. So come and see me. And also, here's a very key reminder. For references, it's a great excuse to call your clients when you meet with someone. You know, like I had 2 really meaningful conversations where one's potentially going to lead to a referral this week because I gave a reference list out to a team agent's potential client. And so I touched base with my clients and I said, hey, just so you know, I put your names on a reference list where I'm working with my team agent to try to secure this buyer. This is the buyer's name. Hey, how are you? What's going on? I have some fantastic news, you know, I'm expecting, and I had a great conversation with them, right? It's a great way to touch base and just check in, which you should be doing with all of your past clients anyways. All right, what else? What else goes into buyer consultation package? Probably referrals for mortgage brokers. Okay, how many do we give, guys? How many mortgage brokers should you be referring to potential buyers?
3.
3. Why 3?
High, middle, low.
Nope.
Different rates.
Nope.
Compare.
It is to limit liability to yourself.
Okay.
Yeah,
By
yeah.
machine.
That way, if one of them fucks up, they can't say, well, it's your fault. Yeah. So give 3. I'm at a point in my career where it could backfire on me where I'm only giving 1, but it took me like 20 years to get there, right? I can give other ones. Yes.
If we just give May, do you think you're still going to be liable? Because May is good, but we should still give 3.
Yeah, you can still be liable. And here's what I used to do to try to get my way and limit liability is I would give the references and verbally I would tell them, I've listed my preferred lenders in order of how much I,
Okay, good.
of how I prefer working with them.
Smart.
Now they're all excellent. Otherwise they wouldn't be on my list. But, I've done the most business. I've listed them with, who I'm most comfortable with. Just like that.
Okay, so that's three referred lenders.
Yeah. And they should be mortgage brokers, not lenders. Why?
Okay.
It could outsource so many different mortgages for you.
Yeah.
The broker.
Yeah.
So lenders, let's talk about what a loan officer is versus a mortgage broker. Okay. A loan officer works for the lender directly, which means they can only shop the lender's programs, which are usually a handful of programs, if that, which generally means fewer options and not always the best rate. In fact, oftentimes a higher rate than what a mortgage broker can shop because a mortgage broker can shop all loan programs. Okay. So I always encourage buyers, even if they say they're working with someone, I'll ask them, oh, is it a mortgage broker or did you go to your bank? Now, if they told me they went to their bank, I will explain to them why they should still probably talk to a mortgage broker just because it might financially make a lot more sense for them. I have literally had a buyer that I worked with for 6 months that was on the fence, and we kept them finding great properties. And when we did, they would get shy on pricing. And I'm like, what's going on here? Turns out they were working with the wife's old college roommate who worked at a very small bank out of state. And when I put him in touch with the mortgage broker, we were able to get the numbers up very comfortably for them and get into escrow and close the deal. Right. So don't make that mistake. Have that conversation off of the bat. And we'll talk more about how to introduce that when we talk about how we conduct a buyer consultation. Okay. What else should go into a buyer consultation package? Questions, leading questions that help you to figure out what makes sense for a client. Okay. And that can be basic stuff from area, right, to square footage and bedroom bathroom count. But more importantly, buyers oftentimes don't really know what they need or want. They'll tell you what they want. Almost never will they end up purchasing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a process and you're along for the ride and you are a gentle guide for that ride. So I include a lot of questions as far as their motivation. What's motivating the buyer to want to buy? What do they currently, like, what situation are they currently in now? What situation do they want to be in? Like, what is their motivation? Also, what is their life like? Where do they need to be? Schools, work, family, do they need to be close to a temple? Like, what do they need to be close to? What does their life look like? So let me help you to figure out maybe exploring other areas that might work better for what you're saying is important to me. I don't usually redirect them right away like that, but that's the point. I have this information so that over time I can gently lead them to what probably will work out for them. And don't be surprised if they just like flip a 180 and buy something completely different than all of the things that they told you anyhow.
Yes.
All right. And what do you think buyers, you might want to also include information in your buyer consultation, but also information for you to bring up with them about market conditions, because what do buyers think is going on in the market right now?
Sky high.
Interest rates, they think are high,
Mhm.
but they're not. Interest rates are normal. Okay.
Yeah.
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 What short-term memories people have when they want it to be a certain
Yeah.
way, right? We only had a crazy low rate during the pandemic.
That's it.
6, 7, 5 to 7 has been standard for all of my career. 5 to 7. Okay. And so you might want to have information about that, but more importantly, what do buyers think the market's like for them as a buyer right now? They think their prices are going down, right? That's what a buyer thinks. They think they're going to get a deal. Even in this strong market, buyers are crazy and think there's something that's a good deal. Okay, so you really want to show them that that's not the case. The market is stable as far as value. Yes.
I have somebody that is looking, but they said that they want to basically wait like 6 months
Yeah.
for something to happen or something to change, so.
Yeah, so you're going to run into that all the time.
I think that the interest rates are like crazy.
Yeah,
right
rather
now.
than what has
Yeah.
to crash.
Yeah, which is why you need to pull information about historically, where have interest rates been? And guys, I'm sorry, our last real estate crash, did the prices here go down?
No.
No, not in this area, they did not. Nope. I don't think it even stagnated in Beverly Hills. I think it just, it became a very minor
Mine.
property value increase. Yeah, the worst thing that happened in desirable places to live in this area was it stopped appreciating. It did not go down. It did not depreciate. Okay, so in outer areas that are still, developing,
Yes.
we saw some price decreases. So it depends on the area that the client's looking at, but we did not see downward pressure on prices here. Also, we have something very unique about our market right now that wasn't the case in our last crash, in our last recession. What was unique about that?
Just low mortgage rates.
Yeah, maybe. I'm sorry. What's unique about the situation now?
People have equity.
That's right. That's part of it.
Low.
We just had crazy low interest rates. They all refied. They're at 2%, 2 point something percent. Sellers are not motivated to sell unless they need to. So what does that mean? We have way less inventory than normal. Okay, so any property that is presents well, or is in a nice neighborhood and is priced well, it's getting multiple offers. Okay, because yes.
Titles normally come and mention that certain properties have 10, 12, 15 offers.
Yeah. So even though the buyer pool is reduced, our inventory is even more severely reduced. Okay, so any buyer who thinks that they're going to go in there and lowball and get their offer accepted with a lot of leverage is out of their mind. That is not the reality. The reality is that there are fewer properties. So properties that present well and are priced well, there is still a lot of competition. It's not so much competition on pricing as it is about being solid and coming in with a strong offer. Strong is different than the ridiculousness we had to put our clients through when there'd be 15 offers and money was so cheap to buy. It was easy to add another 25 or 50 or 100,000 to an offer price, right? Buyers are still conservative about dollar amounts. But because there are fewer properties, we're seeing more competition. What I am seeing as a trend is even if there are 15 offers on something, 12 of them are backing out after they get a seller counter offer, right? Buyers are more conservative with the amount of money they're willing to throw out there. Okay, so it's really important that you have your buyer's expectations at a reasonable level of what the market conditions are and that they're really solid financially, which means they have pre-qualification, you have proof of funds, but I have these conversations gently. I don't go into as much detail with them as I'm having with you because I don't want to scare a buyer. I want them to be excited. We're going to go through the fun part. The fun part is finding the property first. So that helps with it. And I get to have this conversation over a period of time with them, right? Yes.
Also with the banking situation, I heard people throwing more money at real estate. They don't keep their money in the bank. And there's a lot of cash offers. That's what some agents and.
Yeah, so there have been a lot of cash offers. I don't know that it has anything to do with the banking
No.
situation. I think is that real estate's a pretty safe investment. And for the properties that are mismanaged or are in areas that aren't as, desirable, or even here, there's less money to be made in the stock market and other things. But real estate, okay, even in a depression, even if we have a couple of rough years, which we don't know that we're going to yet, right? We don't know that yet. It is a guaranteed investment. It's literally secured by the property, right? And so if you're going to live in it, it's still better than throwing your money away at rent. If you're going to rent it, as long as you manage it properly, it's still a good investment. Why? Because not only do you have the rental income, we have massive property value appreciation here because it's such a desirable place to live, right? On average, property price doubles every 10 years in this area, okay? Property value doubles every 10 years historically, right? Have there been a few blips here and there? Yes. So, as far as for my buyers, if they're not looking to sell in, under 3 to 5 years, I'm not worried about them buying. In 6 months, do I see property value being lower? Absolutely not. But what happens when the economy takes a downturn, interest rates go even higher a lot of times. Yes.
Also, because of the high inflation, real estate always stays ahead of inflation.
Yes, real estate does stay ahead of inflation. In fact, it drives a lot of inflation. That's why you're seeing the interest rate so high. Anyone who thinks we have a free fucking economy and market is misinformed. Our government controls the hell out of our economy, particularly through the real estate market. It is their biggest tool. Okay, indirectly through interest rates, but directly, right? So yeah, we are the most manipulated market. I would say that and commodities, right? Commodities. I mean, they literally pay farmers not to farm so that they can control the cost of things. In any case, any buyer who wants to wait, they're not getting a better deal. They're just not, unless they want to buy someplace far out away from here. Let's see. Also, okay, so let's talk about a couple of areas that I'm pretty familiar with that did take a bad turn during the crash in 2009. Lameda, do you guys know where that is?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. Why? Because there's no reason to go there unless you need to be there for some reason. Carson,
Yes.
a lot of people don't know, except for the IKEA. That's because there's no reason to be there unless you're going to school at the college there, or you work at one of the big companies like in Torrance or Long Beach and you need to be in between for some reason, right? So we see areas, there's not a whole lot of recreation there, right? Lameda in particular doesn't have easy freeway access. There's no reason to live in these places unless you need to be there for some reason. So we'll see areas like that don't have a whole lot of, recreation to offer. and areas that aren't supported by major businesses or metropolitan. We'll see places like that suffer in property value.
How about Brea? Do you know anything about Brea?
I don't know much about Brea. That's Orange County, right? Yeah. But considering I don't know much about Brea, I would assume it's probably similar, right? You live there to commute to
Lot of land there.
a lot of land.
Yeah.
So, so outlying areas like that, you'll see some depreciation. What about areas like, I don't know, Rancho Cucamonga?
Yeah, lot of land.
These areas that are still developing that have these massive housing developments where they're putting in hundreds at a time, you'll see massive depreciation in these areas. Why? The market is flooded downtown, even before the market took a turn. You know, with all of the issues and the increase even in homelessness in the downtown area during the pandemic, you know, all of those luxury high-rise condos that they were building, they overdeveloped the hell out of it. Right now they're turning into rentals. We saw a massive amount of depreciation in those values, right? So overdevelopment, when there's a turn in the market, that's going to have a lot of downward depreciation, a downward effect on value. All right, so back to buyer consult. So we talked about the components that go into buyer consult. Now let's talk about how we have a buyer consult. I really want to focus on them. No chance I'm going to do that if I'm looking down at a list of the questions I need to ask them. And my questions, I don't always go in order. A lot of them I ask and get answered in the course of having a conversation with them. Right? I want the buyer to lead the conversation. I want them to feel supported. I want them to feel my care. I want them to feel my expertise, that I can get the job done because I want their business, right? So, you know, I focus a lot on, you know, getting to know them. You know, how did they hear about me? You know, a lot of times for me, it was a referral from a past client. So we'll talk a little bit about that experience. Although I don't share too much personal information, I don't want them to think that I share, you know, personal information that I shouldn't be. I want them to know that what we do is confidential. So we'll talk about, you know, what they're doing now, their past experiences, where they're working, you know, are they relocating? Where are they relocating from? What's the motivation? All right, so your plan here, what is the plan here? Who's going to be living there, right? Because who's going to be living there is going to lead into a lot of questions. Do they have, you know, like, are they telling me, oh, me, my husband, and my 2 children, and my mother-in-law, right? So then, okay, great. Are your kids going to go to certain schools? Do you want to be in a certain school district? That's one of my very first questions because most parents care a lot about that. Okay. And then, you know, the elderly, like, oh, do they need a yard? The elderly mom, do they need to have single level, or can mom make it up and down the stairs? Do they need to have a bedroom downstairs? You know, that kind of thing. Do they need to have an ADU? Because I really don't like my mother-in-law that much, you know. I do, I like my mother-in-law. But, you know, like those kind of questions. Do they have pets? You know, if they have kids and pets, they probably don't want to be near busy streets. They're probably less inclined to want a condo, or they want a condo with outdoor space. How many bedrooms, bathrooms do they need are related to, you know, how many people are going to live in their home? Do they have guests a lot? Do they need extra space? How many parking spots do they need? You know, it's going to lead into the basics, the bare bones of what they need. The area, because of schools and work. And then the space, because of the occupants. And, you know, once I get into that, I transition into budget. So have you spoken with a loan professional? I ask because a lot of times to do showings, we'll need a pre-qualification letter. And so this is where I get into the, oh, great, you've spoken to someone. All right. Did they give you a pre-qualification letter or tell you how much you could qualify for? A lot of times the answer to this is no. And if it's no, it's okay. Well, that one is really important because what you may be able to qualify for and or be comfortable with may be very, very different than what you think, in up or down. It can go in either direction. And it's really important that you talk to a mortgage broker, not just a lender, because they have access to so many more loan programs. Also with the condominium versus a single family, HOA dues are factored in weird ways. Banks don't always make sense as to what they'll lend. So it's really important we figure that out because I don't want to show you a home that you absolutely fall in love with, that you're not actually able to purchase. And likewise, I don't want to be showing you homes that aren't going to be a great long-term fit because, we're being really conservative and perhaps maybe you'd be comfortable with a more expensive purchase. We want to make sure it's the best fit for what it is you're looking for. And the only way we know that is if you talk to a mortgage professional. And I make sure that I tell them, I have great people that I trust, that I've personally worked with, that tons of my clients have worked with. I'm happy to put you in touch. And the great thing about that is this can be based on a conversation. And at least for me, I only work with really one guy now. He does not call people unless they want him to, right? So nobody's going to be hounding you or calling you if you decide you don't want to work with them or this is not the right time for you. There's no pressure. No one is pulling your credit. So I think that's a common misconception that buyers have. Thank you. That their credit needs to be pulled to be pre-qualified. That is not the case. Okay. So it is completely, it's not, do not have to make any commitment whatsoever. So this is important.
No even soft pull?
Huh?
There's no even like a soft pull on the
No.
credit?
No kind of credit check to have a pre-qualification. It's based on a conversation. If things are really tight, the mortgage broker might suggest having them pull their own credit, which is a soft credit check, so that they can work with that a little bit more. Or if they have very convoluted types of income. Sean, yeah?
Absolutely.
And that's just because you're more. I like that. That's the right kind of response. Yeah. So that's really important to get them started working on that. The last thing that you want to do is do a whole bunch of work, negotiate an accepted offer, and then find out buyer can't obtain a loan, right? It hurts your professional reputation. It wastes your time. It also hurts the relationship with the buyer. Right? This is our job to get them prepared, ready, and to actually bring this to fruition. Also, a buyer's expectations of what they can get for their approved purchase price is often what? Really unrealistic. Okay? I have legitimately got phone calls from people who are like, yeah, I have 2 million cash. I want to buy a house in Beverly Hills with a large yard. I'm sorry, tear down lot value is 8 million. That is not the response I give them though. So no matter how off base the buyers are, I do not want to say no. This is the kiss of death when you're meeting buyer clients. You say no too soon. Yes.
I'm usually working with foreigners, and now I have kind of situation. This is like super wealthy family. This is a referral from one of my colleagues from Dubai. And she told me about that. And first wife called and she asked about rent for 1 year and closer to golf schools because their son, 10 years old, playing golf professional, but studying. And then as soon as I tried to talk to her and go a little bit deeper, she's like, oh, you know what? Better way, talk to my husband. Okay, so it seems like he's decision maker. And in a week only after that, I was able to talk with a husband and he's like, I would like to buy 3 million. And I don't care about swimming pool. I don't care about golf course. I just want to have a view and show me. I don't know anything about that. I was in LA once in Bel Air Hotel. And I'm like, okay, where to start?
Well,
The wife saying one legend, the husband, and they're super wealthy in the post-Soviet Union manner. They don't like to talk a lot.
So when I have a set of buyers, particularly this happens with husband and wife that have very different wants and
Yeah.
needs, I will pull them both and I will just address it. Now, I've spoken to you separately. This is what you've each indicated to me was important. Here are homes that meet this criteria. Here are homes that meet this criteria. Here are homes that meet both criteria. Please let me know, like, if you'd like further information or for me to schedule a showing for any of these. Right? I kind of put it out there that clearly we're not on the same page without saying that. And so I have a lot of times my consultation, if it's on the phone, is with one party, right? I always try to have them in person if I can, so I can get all the decision makers there. Because a lot of times when they speak out loud, they'll kind of make that decision on the spot together as to who's in charge.
I try to stick with the purchase, of course. And I sent 2 links with the swimming pool and without, with a 3 million budget, just to, it's obviously without swimming pool and more quality, like more desirable real estate. And he's like, yeah, let's go with this.
I mean, it sounds like he's a decision maker, but I would include everyone on all the emails. So that'll be part of the buyer consultation when we look at it. Or, we're talking about giving it.
Yeah, thanks.
You
Yes.
show any property to the buyers without any pre-qualification letter or no?
I would
You
show
would show?
property to them without pre-qualification, right? Because in the beginning, is it a chance? Yes, it
Yes,
is,
cash.
but it's definitely gonna damage the relationship if I refuse to show them something they wanna see.
Not refuse, but you press on.
I do press on it as time goes by. And I'll share with you, what I try to do is if after a couple of showings, they still haven't ever contacted my mortgage broker, if they kind of like something or they start talking about things, I'll work it into the conversation. Oh, have you, I'll ask them, have you guys been pre-qualified with such and such? I haven't heard from them. And if they say no, I'll say, oh, again, that's really important. Maybe I can schedule a conference call. I can schedule it for you. What day and time works well for you? So I'll take over doing it for them.
I wanted to show one of the agents here with Taylor Williams that they had a off market and she was pressing, I cannot show it to you if your client doesn't have a pre-qual.
Yeah.
Is that?
That happens, yeah. I have a pocket right now and the owner won't show without proof of funds.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So just don't
and
show it.
pre-qualification.
So don't show that one
If you can't show it, you can't show it.
they don't accept, so we have.
Yeah, and so you just go back to your client. I'm really sorry. This agent says her client will only show with pre-qualification. Do you want to get started on that? Yeah, I can set up the call for you.
A quick
Uh,
note on that $3 million budget purchase that this lady was talking about just now.
Yeah.
It's really a purchase power of up to 9 million if they're willing to finance the rest.
Sean's trying to get your business, Vita.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
They're cash buyers and I'm even like,
All right, guys, talk after class. Vita, Sean, Vita. All right, so back to buyer consult, right? So I don't want to be the no person. It's really important that I'm not the no person, right? Even if I know for a fact that there's not gonna be anything that meets their criteria. I mean, if it's so off base, it's like the Beverly Hills Flats thing that I told you about, I might mention to them. I might talk to them about BHPO. I'm gonna offer solutions anytime my answer is not in line with what they want, right? So I'll ask them about areas, pricing. I'll work with the pricing they tell me until we work with a mortgage professional to get a pre-qualification. But I might suggest other areas to them also, based on what they told me is important to them and what they need to be close to. But I don't push too hard on that. Only if they're open to it, do I include that. I get contact information for all of the decision makers, okay? Because I want to send them properties all at the same time. I want them to be able to talk about them and look at them. And one of the biggest mistakes I make in buyer consultation is I walk out of there without the email addresses. I have the phone number already. I need to get the email. You'll want to talk about schedules, If I need to call someone, who should I speak to? You know, if it's something I can take care of on text, I'll send a group text so you both know what's going on unless you tell me otherwise. How about showings? What are best days and times for you? You know, there may be times where we need to get into something very quickly to have an opportunity, but if time is not of the essence, you know, and we can wait a couple of days, you know, is it better that we do it during the week at lunchtimes, after work? Is during the day fine? Which you prefer weekends? That way you know those things. Yeah, you want to talk about bigger things like pool. If it's a condo, do they have pets? You know, there might be pet restrictions. Condos might have tandem parking, some inconveniences. You want to make sure, like, do you need in-unit laundry? Most condo complexes have in-unit laundry, but not all of them do. Some of them restrict whether or not you can install hardwood floors in any or part of the unit, things like that. So condos have a whole other set of questions on top of them. It's even more important if your buyer is a condo buyer that you have the pre-qualification so their lender can tell you how much they can cap out on the HOA dues at. You'll start sending them listings from the MLS. You want to talk to them about preferences of how to send them. So if you're in the mentorship program, I've asked that you take the client dashboard, the intensive client dashboard class, which teaches you about all of the different ways to send property to clients to save searches for your clients. Because there are so many different ways to do it on our MLS. We can send it to them where it goes to them once per day at a certain time, morning or afternoon, only a certain day of the week or certain days of the week or in real time. So if your client is looking all over the place and there are multiple, 12 properties that pop up each day meeting their criteria because they're really broad still, you might want to have it go to them once a day, right? If something's popping up every couple of days, in real time is probably going to make more sense. There are interactive versions where you can pull the search where the client goes in and hearts or doesn't heart or leaves comments on the properties. I tend not to like this one because I spend a lot of time looking at property that I know doesn't work for them. But there are some clients that can't help themselves anyways, and they're going to go on Zillow and do that shit anyhow. So go ahead and set that up for them. My high-end buyers, there's also a functionality where I can have those listings come to only me first. I review them. I select which ones get forwarded on to my clients because, my $10 million buyers, they are going to be like, Christen, why are you sending me this shit? You know what I like. Like, that's my job, right? That's my job. Why should I be making $250,000 and not be willing to preview the properties? Not only that, I oftentimes call the listing agents and I ask them things that I know are important or could be important to my client, because the last thing I want to do is waste their time and show property to them that's not going to work, right? I look up street view, make sure it's not next to a school. I want to know anything and everything I need to know about that property. I do that for most of my buyer searches, by the way, not just the $10 million ones, even if I have a lot of them going to them. And I have the conversation with those buyers is, hey, please look at everything I send to you if you have the time, but I will be looking at every single one myself, and I'll be calling any out to you that I think are, that might be an exceptionally good fit or of exceptional value, right? And I do not hold back. If there are pros and cons, I list the cons and I usually list them first. I acknowledge that very openly with my clients. I think it builds rapport and trust. You should not be hiding anything that you think could be, a turnoff to your client in any property ever. You need to present everything as honestly and directly as possible. They will appreciate that. And then 4 months into your search, they're going to send you property that doesn't meet any of the criteria in locations you recommended to them, but they told you absolutely not. And then you can ask questions that make your world a whole lot easier. Oh, this one's in Van Nuys. We had discussed that and you said you weren't open to it, but for the right property, would you reconsider that? Should I open our MLS search up to Van Nuys now? And their answer will finally be yes, because what they want doesn't exist in the price range in Sherman Oaks that they wanted. So Van Nuys it is, right? And this is when you get closer to ending up in an escrow. But you have to be gentle and wait for them and be prepared. Talk to your clients about Zestimates and Zillow and why an algorithm has zero bearing on, like, it cannot provide accurate value. They do not go in and see. So it's based on property specs, right? So if there's a house that with 2 homes, mirror images, both built 1950, one is completely remodeled, the one next door is completely original condition. Zillow believes they are worth the same. Are they? Absolutely not. Okay. Have that discussion. They are going to go on Zillow and pull up stuff that is an unbelievable deal and say, why didn't you send this one to me? He'll do some research, he'll go on the MLS, and then under agent remarks, they'll be selling 50% ownership. Or it's a tick, or it's something unusual, right? So you'll want to gently explain all of these things to them and let them know so that they stop doing that stupid shit and they leave you alone to do your job. But again, indulge them and educate them, right? Remember, this is scary for them. Acknowledge that also. Be a human being with them, okay? This is scary for them. This is important for them. Be human. Invite them to share their concerns with you. I can't tell you how many buyers who were acting gun shy I converted by inviting them to share their doubts and concerns with me, okay? Be present, be responsive. So obviously, if I'm teaching here right now, I can't get back to one of my clients if they have a question. But you know what? I do look at my phone, and if it's something important, I will let them know, hey, I'm teaching. I'll call you back as soon as I can. I almost instantaneously respond to all of my clients, even if I can't help them. I acknowledge that I got their message and I will get back to them, right? I need to make them feel supported because it's scary. They will get crazy. Every buyer will get a little bit emotional or crazy about something, no matter who they are. Do not take it personal. Do not get emotional back. Your job is to be the professional one while you're acknowledging how they feel, right? It's pretty amazing when you acknowledge people's concerns and fears at how vulnerable they'll be with you, right? And only then, when they're being honest with you, can you actually get to the solution and move past it. And remember, not everyone is going to buy or sell, even when they've made indications that they are going to. And as a real estate professional, it sucks for you, your wasted time, but you have to treat them as a human being with respect and understand those feelings. Those clients, if you handle them properly, when they are ready, will come back to you and or will give you referral business. All right. Briefly now, unless anyone has any more questions about like how to conduct yourself in a buyer consult, I'm going to move on to actually pulling up a copy of the KW command template. Yeah. By the way, I love buyer consults. It's one of my favorite things I do. I love helping a buyer to figure it out. I love it. Yes.
You said you don't take that many new clients. Is it just the
That's not true.
Oh, you do? You take?
I take any new client that comes to me,
Really?
but most of my business is referral. Yeah. Yeah, I don't prospect a lot anymore, is what I don't do. Although times are slim, I'm prospecting more and more, guys. Put in that work. And I hate working with off markets, but right now, all of the stuff I'm working with are off market.
I don't want to put it on.
Yeah. All right. Let me share screen for those of you at home. All right, once you log into KW Command, on the left-hand side, you have all of these icons. This one with the little paintbrush that says designs is what you'd select. All right. And this. Hey. You're going to hit create design. And none of these really matter. I just select print because everything shows up for print. Man, this thing is so fast. And over on the left-hand side, you're going to pick which got it. Okay. you're going to scroll and you're going to scroll to buyer and you're going to select a buyer presentation. There are multiple versions of KW's buyer consult. Right now, if you take nothing else away from what we're talking about for the KW command template, 80% of it needs to go in the garbage or you fucked yourself already. 80% of it should go directly into the garbage. Why? It asks stupid questions that do not work for our market, because remember, these are not stupid questions in other places. We are a national company. So it asks for preferences like on countertop material. If they want a greenhouse. In LA, even your multi-million-dollar buyers, they're making concessions. They're getting what they can live with for the price that they can afford. Okay, we do not live in a market where it makes any sense to ask your buyer questions like these. You are setting both of you up for failure. So 80% of it needs to go into the trash can. I'm going to open this one. I think. There are also outlines for what happens in a transaction in these, in both listing presentation and buyer consultation packages. They're wrong. Like, it includes an attorney. We don't have attorneys in our transactions, right? So just because information here is in here does not mean it's accurate. It's a great place to start from and ask questions of your mentor or another agent in the office if you don't know the answer as to what's accurate. Do not just hand this out. You will be doing yourself a very big disservice as well as your client, setting them up for failure. Okay, so there's an instructions page on how to use this because everything's modifiable. I'm going to go in through here and just show you, give you a little bit of idea of what I'm talking about, throwing some of the stuff away. So first off, there's a table of contents. If any of your presentations are so big they need a table of contents, you've already failed. Okay, you're not going in there to turn pages. You're going in there to have eye contact and focus on the personal relationship and secure the business and the relationship. If you win the relationship, the business will follow. What do I say that you need to have in order to get business? You only need 3 things. What do you need? You need the client to like you. You need them to trust you. And you need them to think that you're competent. If you are successful at those 3 things, as long as you're mostly competent at your job, you have their business if there's real business to be had. Okay, as long as it's not like their nephew just got licensed. So no table of contents. All right, let's see here. There's fluffy stuff in here. I don't mind there being some fluffy stuff, but remember you have your bio in here. It's mostly about the company. But this is mostly about them, things for them to consider. You're going to have the referrals, the mortgage broker, your references, things like that. Let me see. So it's all about building your preference profile. And there are like 12 pages in here as to their home wish list. And this is what I really want you guys to get out of here. You condense these 12 pages down into like 1 page, okay? What are the non-negotiables for your home? Let's not even talk about non-negotiables because I guarantee you there's gonna be some negotiables.
Yeah.
Like when James and I were looking for our new home, I told him my non-negotiables were AC and a garage that's attached to park it in a yard. That pretty much priced us out of like 50% of what was available. We found something that worked beautifully, right? But we found it after some searching, and because I'm a real estate agent, so that makes it a little easier, right? So this home wish list, it goes into exterior. How many stories do you prefer? What size are you looking for? Clients aren't always good with square footage. So you may need to give them examples, particularly if they're coming from another state. They might think that a small home is 2,500 square feet. That's a big home here, right? Are you looking for any structures, such as a greenhouse or shed? Please, if you're introducing to your buyer that they can be that picky, you're never going to sell them anything, right? what type of exterior siding appeals to you? Come on, we're not selling like these massive housing development homes. If the exterior is not gross and the interior works for you, it's in your price range, score, write an offer.
That's it.
Although we can't say that to the buyer, right? Look, you can find little wins, and I'm not telling you not to. 100% that's your job. But do not introduce to them things that are going to put hurdles in their way and hurt their expectations. Let's see. You know, will your kitchen need to have butcher block countertop or a farmhouse sink? We are not asking a buyer stupid preferences like what type of sink they prefer. If they need a different sink, they'll put in a new fucking sink as soon as, probably not, because there's probably something bigger wrong with the house for what they can afford. Not always.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, this stuff shouldn't be in here, right? It really shouldn't be in here.
Reduce it to 1 page, right?
Yeah, mine is down to, I think, 1.5 pages, but that's because I kind of I tried to organize and put more leading questions like for the mortgage broker and stuff in there. And am I sitting down here looking at it like this when I'm having the buyer consultation? I'm gonna stop sharing now so you guys at home can see me. I'm not down here, I'm here. So I really need to practice buyer consultation, right? Because I need to know what questions I need to ask them. They're gonna go out of order because I'm having a conversation with these people, right? But I need a reference list to go back to so I don't miss something important, right? The last thing I want to do is after I have a great meeting is make myself look stupid or weak by going back to them with a dumb question like, oh, what's your email? I'm so sorry, I forgot to ask for it. Or, you know, I forgot to ask you about, you know, your parking needs. It's something that basic I should have covered, right? I should have covered. So yeah, that's a buyer consult. Remember, relationship. Remember, be realistic with what their needs are. Be gentle with telling them no. It takes time. I lost a buyer about 1.5 years ago, and I felt it when it happened. And it's because what they wanted wasn't gonna happen. And I told them that too soon. I told them that too soon. I was the no person. Okay, so I felt it. I knew it when I did it. I knew it instantaneously, but I could never take it back and I lost them. So gentle, you know, if they're telling you they want Sherman Oaks, but it doesn't exist in their price range, what they need, you know, you can recommend to them, ask them if they're open. Well, how about I put it on the MLS search just in case and take a look. After a couple of months, usually they'll end up sending me stuff in the areas I told them, but every once in a while, hey, I know this isn't in the area you want, but it meets all of your other criteria. And I think it is really cute and it's a really great price. Would you maybe want to just take a look at it anyhow? I am gentle and I am not, you know, I just give it some time, right? So gentle. It's an educational learning opportunity, but you have to keep it fun. You have to keep it pleasant, right? You manage expectations by not introducing ridiculous ideas into their head. And you tell them no, you show them instead of telling them, right? So if they tell me they want that $2 million Beverly Hills Flats home, I pull everything that's currently on the market in Beverly Hills and I show them what the prices look like. I don't tell them no. I show them. I show them what's available. I show them what's real. And so I might say something like, as you can see, there are no homes in the flats that are priced under 8 million or whatever it is, right? But, you know, you might want to look at BHPO. It's technically City of LA, but it does have some really highly rated schools in certain areas and this and that. Like I will explain what the benefits are, you know, and I'll ask some questions like, what about it? What about Beverly Hills Flats specifically? Is it that attracts you to it? They're like, oh, the schools and the neighborhood's so great, the city services, this and that, the community. I might recommend Culver City to them, right? Because Culver City has a lot of those same things. So it's a learning process, but be gentle, be supportive, and keep it positive. Get a buyer consultation together if you haven't already. If you are in the mentorship program, you need to pull one together, have your mentor help you to finalize it. And then you need to do a practice buyer consultation with them, pretending that they are a buyer. And then do it with one another. And then do it with all of your friends. Do it with your mean gay friend who will tell you the truth about where you fucked up. Okay? Do it again and again and again and again until you have almost all of the questions down. If you need to make flashcards to remember what's important to ask, do it, because again, you need to focus on the eye contact and the personal relationship while not skipping a beat on what it is you need to figure out. If you need to refer to that buyer consult for a quick reminder of a question, fine. But if you're doing it consistently, you're not able to focus on that eye contact and the personal relationship. Does anyone have any questions?
No.
So much, thank you.
Okay, great. Go get them, Tigers.
Thank you, Kristen.
Welcome.
You see what you're teaching tomorrow.
I don't remember. Look at the calendar.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, a family.
Thank you.
12:30, right? 12:30, right?
Yeah, 12:30 tomorrow.
Do you prefer to conduct the,
Presentations.
where do you prefer to conduct the buyer consultation, like at their home in the office?
Wherever the buyer wants.
Yeah, folks.
I want life to be easy and convenient for them. I do for you.
But like, have you have like a better experience like in the house or like at the office? Like if there's no like you didn't kind of,
I want, you know what, I don't like public places because I don't feel like super, like I can't sprawl out.
yeah.
Can't be super comfortable. Parking might be harder. Seating might not be comfortable. So I like to go to them or invite them to come to my office. Yeah.
Christian, is this fake? Okay, so I can watch this tonight.
I had a Persian boyfriend whose mom couldn't speak really good English, and she used to say this cute thing to his dad, I do for you, or for me, like, she'd be like, oh no, basically like, don't get up, I've got you. You know, she was really, really proud of being an excellent hostess. And so he worked with me for a little while. And so, you know, when I talk about buyers, he'd say, what do we do for this buyer? And I'd say, I do for you. I do for you. You know, like, get up off your ass. We do everything for that client. Make them comfortable. Yeah. She was so cute. I'll do it for you. She was so sweet. I miss her food.
I have another question.
Yeah.
It's a horrible question because I'm new. At what point you're signing like a buyer representation agreement with them?
I don't.
You don't ever?
Nope. I think they're tacky, but that's my personal choice in my real estate business. Print one out, read it. Decide if you like it. I might use one if I was still working with people I didn't really trust at this point. I might be using them since I'm working in a lot more off-market stuff because I don't trust any of those fuckers. So that might be a thing. But yeah, I typically don't work with buyer representation agreement. I even have buyers sometimes ask me about it in buyer consultation, and I say, why do you want one? I'm bound by agency relationship to work with you and hold to certain standards, but I don't feel the need to contractually bind you to working with me. If I'm not making you happy, if I'm not working hard enough and bringing you what you need, I want you to be able to go and work with another agent. I'm very confident in the services that I provide, and I'm really, really open to having clear communication. So if you need anything else, if I can do anything else better, if you prefer information a certain way, that's what I want to give to you. And I want you to feel really, really comfortable and welcome to come to me with that.
Can you write it down? Everything that you just said?
My team does that all the time. They're like, oh, Kristen, you talk way too fast.
For example, if something happens in this way, you show the house to like a prospective buyer and then they just purchase it with somebody else.
You have procuring clause because you introduced that property to them.
Gotcha, but like, is it easy to kind of to pursue this whole?
Michael Rosales could be pursuing it with the broker of the other agent that brought him back to it. But as long as you have proof that you introduce them to the property, it's called procuring clause.
Gotcha.
And what would probably happen is the brokers would talk and probably negotiate splitting the commission.
Have you ever had this situation?
Hi.
Hi, I've been really, really fortunate. I haven't had many buyers do me dirty. Yeah. Or if they do, like they're so all over the place, I don't even like waste my time with them anymore. But earlier in my career, I would have.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I definitely wrote some offers for some people trying to commit fraud for sure.
See you tomorrow.
Does the buyer's contact-
Sit down with this buyer and find out what they want.
Yeah,
That works.
and I have to show him at 2:30, so it's close by.
Is it a buyer?
I at least,
Oh, at least.
yeah. Oh, Beverly.
Good morning. What is she officially named?
First consultation is just
Still
the stuff that you prepare and then you sit down and ask questions.
tired
You know what
and
criteria
morning payments,
to look
like,
for, how
they
many
wanna-
garages, you know.
I mean, it's just like you're flexible.
How many bedrooms?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the other part, like, that nobody talks about, because like, even if you get a mortgage, like, when you take a look at the amortization schedule, you're still like, for the first like 15 years, paying more interest than, you know, equity, so
For sure.
with a small downturn in the housing market, like, you can be upside down, even though you've been paying for like 15 years. So that's the kind of, the reason why people tend to like lease.
Yeah, and this guy, he's caring for his mom, so he said we have a home, she wants to be down here, you know, for the spring, summer. It's okay.
So 12:30 is the homes.com, right?
Yeah.
Okay, is it gonna be like here or?
Yeah, it should be here.
Okay.
My computer's updating, so I think it's gonna be lunch too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, me.
Christen.
I didn't see you yesterday.
Hey, what's up? I know.
15, I think she came in late.
I'm good. How are you?
Good late.
I hear you. You got a show and congratulations. That's exciting.
Did you go to any tower event yesterday?
I did not know.
Money, that space.
No, it's all good.
Hey, Amy, how you doing? How's everything, Amy? Hi, B. Fine.
Hey.
You doing back?
Yeah, I'm just going to talk to you.
Yeah,
It's gonna
came
get
here.
full, I don't know what.
Yeah, I'm sure Bill probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Carbs.
No, it's fine, no.
Oh, that's
I'm
fine. Yes.
waiting. The next one starts back in 10. How you been?
Get your what's up?
Is there another?
Yeah.
What is-
Hey, 12:30.
Whose class is it?
Rodney? No, I'm gonna text him. I'm just like, I don't know anything. Oh, I'm gonna text them today, so blah, blah, blah. You can get there. Amy,
Hello, Sean.
What's up?
How are you?
Good.
Where are you?
Huh?
Where are you?
You know,
I'm at home.
Imrani.
Oh.
Jacob Imrani, he's in
Rude.
downtown. I also told my attorney friend.
Okay, I'm
that-
turning on the other Zoom, so.
Okay, bye.
He doesn't trust it.